My sweet little baby. I love you. I love you, Xena.
Hi y'all, it's Kimberly here. Thank you all for coming to my channel. This is going to be a really hard video for me to make. I had posted about a puppy that I got recently. Her name was Xena, and I had named her after my nephew that passed away. He had a dog named Xena, and her name was Xena. It was a name, I used to watch Xena, the Warrior Princess, and I always thought, that's such a good name. I would like to, maybe someday when I get a dog, I'll name it that. Well, my puppy passed away. If any of you watched my channel before, you've seen that I posted a few videos of my dogs, and I love dogs, and I have a lot of dogs. I rescued 2 Rottweilers recently, and I had bought land, and part of the reason I bought land was because I was having such a hard time to find a house where people would... I kept getting denied because I have pit bulls, and so I ended up buying land, and I was lucky that I did find a pretty good land deal that I could get into pretty fast and not too expensive, and the payment's not that bad. And you know, part of that reasoning being that I want to be able to have a big backyard for my dogs, and I have to build a house, and it's going to take me a while to do that. It's going to be a long ongoing project for a while, I guess you could say. But part of that was I wanted to customize it for my dogs, and I'm always going to have dogs. They're just always going to be a part of my life. And Xena, my little puppy, she was an American Bulldog mix with a Staffordshire Terrier. And I had an American Bulldog Staffordshire Terrier about, I think about 40 years ago. And he was such a good dog. He was an amazing dog. And I love American Bulldogs. They're such sweet, loving, they're really good dogs. And they have a really sweet temperament, and they're protective, but they're very, very loving dogs. And I've always wanted one, and, you know, I do advocate to go to shelters a lot, but also sometimes you specifically want a certain dog. I don't have a problem with people buying dogs. I've done it before. I really do try to adopt or rescue dogs, and this lady her dog had 10 puppies, and that's a lot. And the mother was kind of drying up a little bit, and they were 7.5 weeks old. They were trying to wean them, and I paid $100 for her. And I don't think I'll ever pay like a huge amount of money. I see people paying $2,000-$3,000 for a dog, and I'm just not in that mind frame. But I do believe that sometimes you do want a particular type of dog, and that's okay. The shelters are full of pit bull mixes. The shelter near the city I grew up in is about probably 80 to 90% pit bull mixes, and it's actually pretty rare to find a full-blood American Pit Bull Terrier, because those dogs are purebred. They have papers, and now everybody mixes all kinds of other dogs with pit bulls. They mix them with Great Danes and Mastiffs and just all kinds of different mixes. And I've had several pit bull mixes over the years. I have a pit bull Connie Corso mix right now, and I have another pit bull mix. Well, they said purebred, but I know that it's not. XL, but he's actually really small, so I know he's some kind of mix. And this puppy I got, she was the sweetest, most, I mean, her behavior, her disposition was just so sweet, so loving, and I was really spoiling her. She didn't like to, whenever I would take her outside, I'd sit her down to potty. She would immediately turn around and start crawling up my leg. So I'm always going to remember this little puppy scratching on my leg. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to cry, but it just happened a few days ago. So it's really a fresh wound. It really hurts. But I wanted to make this video because, you know, I've been rescuing dogs for 50-something years, since I was a little kid. I was constantly bringing dogs home. I was always getting in trouble. I was picking up dogs. My mom would say, that's somebody's pet, it's somebody's pet, you know, and I constantly was picking up stray dogs and taking them in, and if I couldn't find the owner, then sometimes I would try to find another home for it. You know, when I feel like I had too many dogs and, you know, I don't want to overload myself. I have a certain amount of room that I can have, you know, that I feel that I can take care of a dog. And, excuse me, this puppy was, you know, I feel angry with myself because I know a lot about dogs. I don't know everything, but I constantly learn stuff about dogs. I'm always accepting, you know, if I find something new and I learn about it, you know, I research it and study it. And, you know, I've had dogs that have had puppies. I've raised puppies. I've, you know, had to deliver puppies. Been there when a dog was having a water baby. I've been there. I revived dead puppies that were born dead, you know, and, you know, she was so fat and healthy and such a good, happy puppy. And then I noticed that she really wasn't drinking very much water. I left like bowls of water in I fixed her a little area with a bunch of pee pads and everything, and she would cry a lot. This dog cried so much. The first 2 or 3 days that I got her, she cried and cried. And I know she was missing her mother, and I was trying to make up for it as much as I could. And she cried nonstop to the point where she lost her voice. She couldn't even bark. She would just make a little noise. And every day I would come home from work and I'd just rush over to her and pick her up. And I'd immediately take her outside and, you know, spend a few minutes with her, and then I'd feed her immediately. And then I'd attend to all my other dogs. That's what I do when I first come home. I attend to all my dogs. I get them all settled before I do anything for myself. Sometimes it's like 8 or 9 o'clock at night before I even get to eat. And because my dogs come first. My dogs have never gone without food or water. I have gone without food. I've gone days without food, but I always have made sure that I have a backup or something with food. You know, my dogs come before me, and I tell people at work, you know, I work so my dogs can have a better life. That's the way I think of it. And I just noticed she wasn't drinking her water, and she was being weaned, and I kept trying to, like, make her drink the water. And then finally I got a spoon. I literally had to, like, force feed her water. I mean, not hurting her, but putting the water in her mouth and, you know, rubbing her throat. And she did drink a little bit more water that way. She would eat the dog food, but then it got to the point where I noticed she grew a little bit, like she grew about an inch taller, I guess. And she seemed like she was getting skinnier or thinner, but at first I thought, well, she's just growing taller, because she was a fat little puppy just being weaned off her mom. She looked real healthy and fat when I got her, and then she sort of started to thin out a little bit, and she grew taller. And still I noticed the last couple of days that she wasn't drinking any water. The very last, or one particular day, I couldn't get her to drink any water. She just wouldn't drink water. And I kept trying to feed her with the spoon with the water. And even out of her puppy chow, I'd mix it with water to kind of soften up a little bit. And she didn't even drink that water. She drank just a little bit of that water that was seasoned with the, the dog food flavoring after she had all the dog food. And then she was just, I noticed she wasn't eating enough. She didn't eat all of her food the last one, not the last day, but she actually, one day, she looked really skinny to me. And so I kept feeding her. I fed her like several times throughout the day, and she would only eat half of it. And I had to constantly try to give her water. And then the next day, I went to work, and I left her a huge bowl of dog food, like 2 cups of dog food. And enough to, she probably would have bloated on it, but I wanted her to eat. I wanted her to eat a lot. And when I came home, she only ate like maybe 1/4 of that. And she just seemed not as, she didn't jump up as much, like I say, she used to just run and jump and cry for me to pick her up, and she didn't do that. And I was very concerned about, she just looked really skinny. And I went and got a plain hamburger from McDonald's, and with no sauce, no ketchup or nothing on it, just the meat and bread. And I took the meat out, and she only ate half of that. Most puppies would have gulped the whole thing down. And then the next day, when I went to work, she did not eat anything, and she didn't drink any water. When I came home, she was kind of lethargic, and I tried to feed her, I had to give her water again like that, and then I kept trying to feed her, and I soaked the food where it was really soft, and I tried to get her to eat it, and she just wouldn't eat it. And then we went to bed. I was really exhausted, and I went to bed. And she literally didn't want to play. She didn't want to do anything. She just laid on my chest. And I bought this little thing. It's actually for cats, but it's like a bag, and it was lined with like Sherpa, and it was about like the size of a small pillowcase. And I put her in that, and like a little sleeping bag, and she looked so cute. And she just curled up in it, and I held her against my chest. I let her sleep in the bed with me, and I held her. And then I woke up, like something just made me wake up. Like about 20 minutes before my alarm went off. Usually I sleep right, sometimes through my alarm. I have like 6 or 7 alarms set, and I woke up and I stuck my hand in the bag, and I was like, come on, baby, let's go. Let's go pee-pee. And she was cold, and it was, she was completely cold and not moving. And I immediately ripped her out of the bag, and I was holding her. And I was trying to like see if she was breathing. I couldn't feel a heartbeat. For numerous minutes I was trying to find a heartbeat. And then I tried to do like some resuscitation on her, and I mean, her extremities were cold. Even though I had wrapped her up in that bag and held her against me, and we were under the covers, and she looked really, her tongue was really pale. And she passed away. I was really upset because she didn't have like a fever. She wasn't coughing. She wasn't around very many dogs, just the ones that I have, and only like the 2 smaller ones. And I hadn't introduced her to the Rottweilers, just the pit bulls. They kind of sniffed her, and I mean, she didn't have like distemper or anything. I know those symptoms and signs, but I was very distraught I was so distraught that I brought her to work with me. I mean, I knew she was passed away. I'm not crazy. I know she was passed away, but I put her in her blanket and I wrapped her up and I put her in the car with me. I did have to work, and my partner's out on a medical leave, so it's like, it's really hard for me to, I had to go to work, and so I kept going out to the car on all my breaks, my lunch, and I didn't eat all day, and I just held her. I didn't tell anybody at work. I have a dead dog in my car. They think I'm crazy, but I wanted to take her out to my land and bury her. Because I didn't want to take her to, like, my vet or put her in a... Sometimes, you know, I don't want... I don't know what they really do with the dogs. They take them to mass grave or dump or something. I don't know what they do. I just wanted to bury her on my land. So I took her out there and I buried her. And it was starting to get kind of dark, and there's not a lot of houses out there. There's a few in the back, and the other people's dogs were barking at me, and I was over there digging with the shovel, digging a hole, and I put her in there, and I was very upset and angry with myself that, you know, why? I know a lot about dogs. I rescue dogs. I take care of them. So I started looking up dehydration. She just wouldn't drink water. And I've had puppies before. I mean, I've taken care of puppies, but I never had problems with them. Never. All the dogs that I've had that have passed away have all been older dogs, because I tend to rescue older dogs, or, you know, the dogs that people don't want. And puppies get picked all the time. So I tend to I have a soft spot in my heart for older dogs, you know, and they're house trained. They usually have, you know, they're just waiting for somebody. They just, you know, they have so much love, and they're just waiting for somebody. They got dumped for some reason that was not their fault, you know, and they don't understand, and I feel so bad for them. So my heart goes a lot for the older dogs, because the puppies, anybody will take a puppy. And I was looking at dehydration, or why she wouldn't drink, and I found, you know, that a lot of puppies that are being weaned, a lot of times they won't drink water. It's just, you know, this is not common, but every once in a while there's puppies that they just won't drink water. They need more. They actually needed a supplement, which I've had to hand feed puppies before, but they were very small, and with a milk supplement. And, you know, I know that, but I kept thinking she will drink water. She's already weaned. And I don't breed dogs. I don't have a lot of puppies, although I said, yeah, I've had puppies before, but I try to spay and neuter my dogs as much as possible. And I was looking up a lot of the symptoms, and one of the symptoms of dehydration is, or that it causes, lack of appetite. So, I mean, I really don't believe that she was sick with anything. I think it was the dehydration that caused a lack of appetite. And then, and like I kept trying to feed her a big, you know, I'd put a big, huge bowl out so she would eat it. And as soon as I would get home, I'd feed her as much as she wants. I fed her several times. When I first got her, I was waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning to feed her, you know, little meals, because I knew she was being weaned, and puppies eat every few hours. And that's part of the weaning process. I know that. But the dehydration I didn't know about. You know, I feel so stupid and so freaking angry with myself. I mean, I feel like part of my punishment for not knowing this would be to carry this guilt forever, because I should have known. I don't know how I didn't know, how I didn't come across this in 50 years. You know, I mean, so if anybody can learn something from this, watch your puppy's fluid intake. Make sure that they are drinking enough water, and if they're not, put them on a milk supplement, milk replacement as soon as you notice it, because their appetite will decrease. They will become lethargic and lose weight. You know, weaning process is hard on some puppies. Some puppies don't take to it very well, and because she did cry for non-stop for the first 3 days, and it was a little annoying, but I knew that she was missing her mom and all her. She went from 10 brothers and sisters to these strange dogs in a strange house, strange place. So I was trying to do everything I could to comfort her, and I bought her toys, and I have some on the floor here. I bought her things. Where's her little thing? You know, they say to buy a stuffed toy, so I found this little reindeer. I found it at PetSmart. It was marked down from the Christmas thing. It was like $1.99, and I just put it on the side of her, and she, you know, when we slept, and when I brought her in the car with me everywhere I went. I took her to Walmart several times, and everybody was in love with her. She was so cute and little and sweet, and everybody was like, "Oh, can I pet your dog?" And I was like, "Yeah." Sorry. I just want people to know, you know, even if you think you know a lot about dogs, if you get a puppy, this is something really to watch out for. If they're not drinking water, if they're not eating or drinking water, you know, it should be in a balance. If they're not eating food, see that if maybe they're not drinking water, because they will become lethargic from that. Dehydration, and I was very upset, and I ended up in some chat room or some place with other people, and I was explaining what happened. I was very upset, and this one guy said he was a breeder. He had bred dogs for like 20 years or something, and he was saying, yeah, it's called a failure to thrive, and it starts a lot of times with dehydration. And I mean, I noticed it, but I didn't realize it. I noticed that she wasn't drinking water, and she was just taking off her mother, that, you know, going immediately from drinking mother's milk to drinking water. Some dogs have a hard time adjusting to that. And I didn't really think about it, you know. I was like, oh, she's so fat and happy and healthy, and you know, I had plans with her this weekend. The weather's really beautiful here, and I wanted to take her out to my land, and I have to go check on it every once in a while to make sure nobody's encroaching on it, because I think one of my neighbors is trying to do something. Excuse me. So I've been going out there, you know, about once a month to check, and twice they've ripped the boundary stakes out of the spot, and this time they ripped them out and they threw them away. The first time they threw them on the ground, and I was able to stick them back in, but this time the stakes were gone. And they have been mowing part of their backyard, you know, we're back to back, and they've been mowing their area, and they've been mowing like a little circular path into the end of my land. And I thought maybe they're just turning the mower around. I wasn't really too concerned about it, but they removed the stakes, and I couldn't figure out where they went, and I actually bought one of those measuring things to try to measure the land, and I was gonna bring her out there. It was we've had like really good weather this weekend. I just wanted her to see her future home, and just put her down, let her run, you know. But it is her future home. Now she's buried out there. So if anybody has a puppy, to watch out for that. That if your puppy is not drinking water, that's critical. It's super critical, because this happened within a matter of 2.5 days, I guess, not counting the night in which she passed away. At the point where I really noticed it, that it was an issue, that I was trying to force feed her water. And if that happens, you need to give them milk replacement. If you don't see an improvement over that, take them to the vet, because they might need to be put on an IV. And if I had known enough, oh my God, if I had known enough, I would have rushed her to the vet. I have a really good vet. If I had known enough, I would have taken her and told them I want her on an IV. Just be very, very wary. If you're weaning a pup, if you have a puppy that's weaned, watch their water intake. Make sure they're drinking enough water. If they're not eating enough, they start to lose weight, not just from the growth. I know puppies start to thin out and they'll grow taller before they put, actual meat on their bones. Just don't let that fool you. Because she did grow about a good inch at least. She grew an inch and a half taller in just a matter of a week or so. I mean, she grew before my eyes. And watch the water intake. Make sure they're eating enough. And if not, get milk replacement. And if it's, only do that for a couple of days. If you don't notice improvement in 1 or 2 days, immediately take them to the vet and put them on an IV. Or they may be able to do something to stimulate their appetite, but they do need, before they get dehydrated. My arm is shaking. I've been holding this, my regular setup. I couldn't find it. So, I'm just very, very upset with myself, I've rescued a lot of dogs, but I couldn't save my own puppy. So if anybody learns from this is why I'm making the video. I mean, I don't like to cry on my videos. I try to make them more positive, but just be careful of that. Just be very careful of that, and watch them very closely, Alright, thank you. Sorry this was such a bummer video, but thank you all.